I'm Sandra Caldwell, and I'm with Professors Damien and Anne, my psychologists.
I'm no doctor, but restless leg syndrome is like where your legs feel like they're jumpy. Like if you're lying down, they feel like you have to like kick your legs because you're having like spasms in your legs. And I think yours is like my brother also does that. He has like it's like a this situation where you're like snapping your fingers and do you know what I'm talking about? I think they're different things. Is this interesting? Who cares?
Hello and welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From with Damien and Anne.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Damien. I'm Damien with RLS. Anne is pretending that she has it, but I'm the real victim of RLS.
We're on Zoom right now, and I think I saw you Google it and realize you were wrong, but you're not admitting it on air, which is really pissing me off. You Googled it, and you were like, oh, she's right.
No. I Googled RLS because I was like, I think that's Restless Leg Syndrome. But when I Googled it, I was like, oh, like this is a thing that like my brothers all have. Like I think Anne's yelled at me before for like shaking the table. But
You're conflating me with another woman, and I've never yelled at you for your legs.
And then when you were going on about like that's different, I like went to like Google it to see like, am I conflating two disorders? Because there used to be like commercials about it, and I remember my high school girlfriend. My high school girlfriend was like, "You need that," and I was like,
"Okay." She has given you a complex. Your high school girlfriend has given you a number of things, including a complex about what your like leg jumpy thing is, which I think is just like you have a lot of energy, and I think it manifests in that way. If you have leg cramps, let's talk about it, and I'll get you some magnesium pills because I take these 4 horse pills a day now. I turned 37 recently, and it really is starting to show in my vitamin intake.
You're mad that I've co-opted your reveal about me. I've made it about me.
Well, I'm not mad about it because you're wrong, so I'm not upset.
Folks, did you miss our body talk? Because I think this is the first time our bodies have come to the surface.
Season 3. Yeah, Season 3 has had very little body talk, but if you know us at all, you know that we've got aging bodies. In fact, I think we edited out from this week's episode some body talk. We asked our guest this month when she played a physical therapist on a TV show that everybody knows we are notoriously have bad bodies. Can you help us with our bodies?
We were like longtime listeners know our bodies are bad. She was like, okay.
Anyway, how are your bodies? How is everyone doing? We don't, this podcast isn't about body talk, but it includes a lot of body talk, and we want to hear from you. I've been doing a lot of sitting. My hips are super tight. I've got like a roller now for my legs. I've got a lot of TheraBands. It's just a whole new world. I thought about buying one of those exercise balls to sit on, which is a total nightmare in a New York City apartment. Like, I don't know where you think you're supposed to go with it. So that's where I'm at physically and mentally.
Oh, yeah. I'm currently dealing with insomnia, so that's where I'm at. It's a new development for me. 2 nights in a row where I just like have woken up in the middle of the night and been like, oh, let me read Robyn Crawford's book.
Well, that's a good use of time, actually. I can't wait to borrow it from you.
So something I wanted to ask you about, and I didn't ask you about this prior. So last week we teased at the end of the episode, we teased this week's interview and we said, right. Oh, so there's a connection. Do you know what it is? And you were like, I don't know. And I was like, it's Disney. And you were like, ah. And then I was like, okay, so our new mission statement is if we can connect every episode to the next episode. So I don't know, listeners, I don't know if you like tune out after we're done the interview because you're like, I don't want to hear them like do their credits. You should, but because there's always tokens of goodness in there. And so I wanted to know if you've thought of ways in which you could connect this week's interview to the future interview. Do you want to save it for later?
Let's save it for later, but I have thoughts, and I think it might be through children's programming.
Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe.
But wait, do you have something?
I have one.
You set it up to ask me and then said that you actually have the answer.
Well, I wanted to see if you had an answer that was different.
I'm going to think off the top of my head, and I'll come back to you after the episode and see if it's come to me. I'm not going to Google it. Just to be clear, I'm not a cheater. I will not Google it. Do we have anything else to talk about today?
Folks, I don't think we do, but I'm going to let you know that this episode, this interview is wonderful. Zoom makes everything a little tricky. And when you come into a Zoom room, like you don't know what you're going to get. But the good thing about the Zoom of it all is that it has opened the door for us to get to interview actors that don't necessarily live in New York and don't necessarily live in like on the coast. So it has been lovely in that way, but you just never know what you're going to get. And Sandra Caldwell, this week's guest, was like the best energy you could ask for coming in the Zoom, right, Anne?
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get in that Zoom space, and we come in super hot. It's very awkward. Sometimes there's technical delays. Sometimes the links don't work. Sometimes people get tired of your bullshit before your interview even starts. But Sandra was a total dream. She was, I feel like, to use a baseball metaphor, took our pitch and knocked it out of the park. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think the World Series is happening. I don't know. It might be over. Do you have any idea?
I have no clue. Still thinking about my restless leg syndrome.
The point is, Sandra Caldwell was wonderful. We're so excited for you to hear the interview.
You might know her from The Cheetah Girls,
Little Men,
Love Songs,
Good Fences,
Disclosure,
and Charm. After a series of technical difficulties, we are over the moon to be here with actress and singer Sandra Caldwell.
Woo!
Sandra, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We finally made it work, so thank you for bearing with us, but we're very excited to talk to you about this one thing. You appear as talent show director Drinka Champagne in the Cheetah Girls,
yes,
where you go toe-to-toe with Raven-Symoné. So Damien and I were a little bit old for the Cheetah Girls when it first came out, but when we finally sat down to watch it, we were so excited because it was clear that Drinka was like the character that we were most excited about. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed that deliciously over-the-top theater teacher and how often people recognize you as Drinka on the street?
Oh, I'm big at the Disney set. You know, if I go to a supermarket now, when I did it, they were 11, 12, 13, 14. And now they've got kids. It's so weird. It feels like, but it was cool. I get recognized for that more than anything. But still, I'll get stopped and go, Drinka! And they'll say it's the voice than anything. So, you know, if I'm speaking and I'm in a supermarket, somebody will snap their head because they'll hear me ask for change or something like that. So it's all good.
How much of that character was sort of how you were directed or what was in the script, and how much of that was like what you brought to Drinka?
I came into audition. And it didn't sound like a part I wanted to do at first, you know, because I thought I was dramatic. So I didn't know if I wanted to do it. And so I went in and I auditioned, and I hate to say this, but I gave a good audition, but it wasn't exciting. And I left, and I got a call and come back the same day and went down, and she said, Leslie said, choreographer, she said, I just want you to go in there and just do you, because I know who you are. I know you're frisky. So be frisky. Do frisky. So I went in and did frisky. I stole a bit of it. I stole a little bit of Jennifer Lewis and threw it in there. And they just let me go. I mean, the director said, well, we don't know how to direct Drinka. Just go and be Drinka, you know.
It's come to pass that there was actually a lot of drama between the Cheetah Girls, and Raven recently went on Instagram Live to quash some of like the long-held beef between she and Keely Williams. So I don't know if you got a feeling for any of that while you were on set. Like, were you and Lynn Whitfield like making eyes at each other?
In the room when it happened?
Yeah.
No. You know what? But you see, they all had separate careers. That was a group they put together. But I didn't see it. I didn't get it because I was in another world. They were holding them. They were the Cheetah Girls, and they were getting ready to do 3 or 4 more movies. It was going to be a television series. And I said, okay.
Give me that Disney
come
money.
On now. Hey, Miss Drinka. But it sounds like to me they offered, this is how I felt. They offered her Raven-Symoné, That's So Raven, or the Cheetah Girls. So I don't know. I that's the way I felt it. I could be dead to wrong. Because they did 2 or 3 more movies of the Cheetah Girls. And then
why wasn't Drinka back?
Because I think they had made a decision that they were only going to do those 2 or 3 movies, and that was going to be it. That's the way I felt. Because if they were going to still go to school, Drinka had to be there. But that's the way I felt it was. But I thought for sure it was going to be a television series. Because we got a whole book, just a whole package. It was like a major little package. So I thought it was. I thought it was going to go to series, but it didn't.
Their loss.
That's what I say.
Okay, Sandra. We are big fans of the story of Little Women, and we're delighted to learn that you were a series regular on Little Men, the Canadian TV series inspired by Louisa May Alcott's follow-up books.
Yes.
You play Asia, the resident housekeeper at Joe March's Bloomfield School.
Uh-huh.
Were you a fan of the story of Little Women prior to working on that project?
I'm a TCM fan, so I knew of Little Women, but it almost had nothing to do with the show. But I did get a thrill because it felt like it was coming from that place. That was my first television series. That was my first one. All of those shows that I have up to a point were really exciting to me because I left New York because I really wasn't working. When I came from Washington, D.C. to New York, I really couldn't find a job for several different reasons. And then for some reason, I got a show and it went to Canada. You ever heard of a show called Let My People Come?
No.
It was like a twisted version of Hair.
Oh.
They tried to make a sexier version of Hair.
It was a musical.
Yes, it was a musical. And that took me to Toronto. And I just got to experience what it was like to be able to just work. You know, it was fantastic. The air and breath of Jesus just fell all over me in Toronto. I was just blessed.
So Little Men was a Canadian series, and you know these characters, the March women like Joe and Meg and Amy and Beth and Marmee that we know from the Little Women book and films. You know they're like literary characters that many young women grew up with and to identify with. But Asia is one of the few Black women in Louisa May Alcott's world. We get to see on the series, and we get to see your relationship with your estranged father. You almost moved to Philadelphia to run a restaurant. Did you feel like that series honored that significance and allowed you to really showcase your acting talents?
You better do your research. You do your research.
We sure do. You got my mom watching Little Men in the last few days, so I hope you get a residual check because Pat Bellino is in it.
You do your research. It did. They didn't just throw me in. You know, because they needed to have a Black person in the show. They didn't just throw me in, a Black character in the show. We sat down and discussed the direction that she was going to go in. So they were consciously trying to not make this character like just a piece to throw in, a second banana kind of piece. They were very conscious about that.
You publicly and professionally came out as trans when the New York Times did a feature on your role as Mama Darlena Andrews in the off-Broadway show Charm.
Right.
This stage play at the MCC Theater was based on a real-life trans woman named Gloria Allen who taught etiquette in Chicago. So you've already talked about coming out to your team, incorporating your trans identity into your previously produced solo show, The Guide to Being Fabulous After You Skinned Your Knee, and then Charm sort of fell into your lap. Can you talk about how your career has or hasn't shifted since you've publicly come out?
It's shifted huge. It changed my life. I had done at least 10 musicals and a Broadway a couple of times. And that show knocked the wind out of me because of everything that came with it. And getting the show, I don't know how or why it happened, but what the universe spoke to everything. I was locking in on everything that was going on in the LGBTQ community. And of course, Laverne Cox was doing her thing. And I got to a point where I was trying to figure out, I saw freedom. Like nobody seemed to have had a problem with the kids these days. Back in the day, you shut your mouth and you went to work. For at least 35 years, I was stealth. And I don't know if no one didn't know or what, but no one ever said anything to me. Nobody ever brought it up to me. So I just went on. But I went to my agent first before I even thought about the show, even before I knew about the show. And I wanted to tell her because I saw this new fresh land out there that the kids weren't caring about. I don't know. I just wanted to open it up. I just saw it and you just wanted some. You wanted to feel open and free and whatever they were showing me in this new world. And this was all happening before. And I went to my agent and I was like freaked out. And I remember going in her office and saying, I got something to tell you. I've got something to tell you. And she said, what is it? I said, I'm trans. 2 weeks later, she called me and she said, you're not going to believe this. Here's a script. Here's the characters. And you tell me, you read this and you tell me if you want to do this. She said, take your time, but I'm going to give you this breakdown and you tell me if you want to do it. And I read it and it was charmed. It was Gloria Allen. And I read it and I started to freak because I wanted to say yes, but I was scared out of my brain. And I called her back and like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I said, yeah, I want to try it. And they had been looking for a while. And I came from Toronto to New York and went to Chelsea and started crying in the audition. I said, I have something to tell you. I don't know what, and my thought process was like, I wanted to tell them something, but that's what they were seeing me for. Why are you telling us something we already know? But that's not the way my brain was working. But it was a trip.
I just want to say that I was lucky enough to see you in the show and you were magnificent.
Oh
and it was
gosh.
really exciting to see you do this after years of working in Toronto and doing theater there as well. Coming back to New York and getting to do all of the heavy lifting of this major show in New York City and carrying it.
Oh.
What was that like? I mean, you were the lead, you were on stage the whole time.
I'm telling, with everything, because they wanted to roll it out. They wanted to make it a moment. They wanted to say, well, here's how we're going to do all the interviews. And they would take me away to a little room and I'd sit there and somebody sit with me and we'd do these interviews. And the day of the New York Times thing, it was boom, boom, boom. And I still had to go on to rehearse. Do you know what I mean? I said, oh, dude, this is a lot. To go sneak away and do these interviews and these photo shoots and then go and do 89 pages of dialogue. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my brain. And having to deal with myself and coming out. My life, their world, my world, and the show's world. Nothing will ever be as hard. Nothing will ever be as hard.
Having that under your belt, does it feel sort of like moving forward, if nothing will ever be that hard, that you sort of have been given new life in your career?
Oh, absolutely. I'm getting different kinds of auditions and calls. Totally different calls. My husband and I, we discussed this before. I said, we'll talk about this before I take this role. Because I had to come back home. And our neighbors, I had lived in this community for a while. And his family didn't know. Our neighbors in the neighborhood didn't know. Our dinner party friends and this stuff didn't know. And you can't say, oh, my wife has a lead in a play in New York, but you can't come. That wasn't going to happen. That just wasn't going to happen. Then the New York Times came out. The day of the New York Times, well, everybody reads the New York Times. They'll go to a theater. That's in my head. That's where it was going. I didn't get any fallback. I got no bitter. I got no mean. I got no mean at all from anybody. And then I had to lock that into my head. Why aren't you being mean? But nothing.
Did you find that the roles or calls that you're now receiving are only for trans characters? Or
No.
do you find that you're still offered the types of roles you were offered previously, but also maybe opens it up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought it was going to be all trans roles. Not at all. They'll call me and say, oh, she's my age range. They'll call me for that no matter what. I go into Fox a bunch. And one day they'll call me, oh, she's this person's mother or this person's, aunt. I make everybody say aunt. I don't say grandmama anymore. I don't do grandma. I do auntie. So I'll do that. And the next day they'll call me, oh, she just happens to be trans. A different character, different show. And they'll call me back a week later and there'll be something else. Again, I'm blessed because I'm not stuck in anything. I just cross over into everything. What's not to love about that life?
That's beautiful.
No, you're not stuck. It's not stuck at all.
Well, also because I feel like we've come on the heels of this sort of season of non-trans people playing trans roles. And so to be in a place now where as a trans actress, you're getting both trans and non-trans roles, I just feel like it is the wave that we are working towards,
right,
that it really hasn't been in the last 20 years, where there were mainstream trans roles, but they were rarely, if ever, played by actual trans actors.
Well, I think now there's no reason that a trans person can't play a cis role. There's no reason. And I a lot of times somebody asked me a question, and I understand where they were coming from, but I sort of rolled my eyes. They said, do you think a trans person could ever have a love scene? A trans person playing a cis person having a love scene with an actor? I said, what does that mean? You know, because they were trying to say that the cis actor would feel funny having a love scene with a trans woman playing it's just too complicated.
Also, it's all acting. It's acting.
Right.
And that question is wrapped up in like prejudice, you know, like that.
Exactly. And my answer is always, it's too late. I've already done it. So don't say it can't be done, because I've already done it. Is it possible? Too late. Already done. So
send that question to Lou Gossett Jr. Thank you.
It's too late, you know. So I don't. I heard the questions coming, and I think it's because they were trying to figure out how was I able to do all these roles, and we're still having the conversation: can a trans person play a cis role? Well, yes, they can. I'm not the only person. I'm not stupid enough to think I was the only person in the world working.
Circling back to Charm a little bit, the character that you play serves as a sort of mentor, etiquette coach. She gives tough love to these young people. Did you have a Mama Darlena in your life growing up? Was there somebody that served that role for you?
Not particularly like Miss Andrews, but my mom and my grandma and my aunt. And I never had a problem with home. I never had to leave home, or they had a problem with my choices. I didn't have a negative youth. I didn't have one. I was able to go home. I was able to stay home. My Aunt Teeny, as I call her, was just Darlena Andrews. Do you know what I mean? Hats and gloves always matched. Grandma went to church, hats and gloves always matched. You just had to keep it moving.
Okay, Sandra, in the Netflix documentary Disclosure, you mentioned that you were part of the ballroom scene and a member of the legendary House of La Beija. You seem to make an appearance in Paris is Burning, and someone on Twitter, I don't know if you saw this, referred to you as Miss Caldwell Chapeau.
You know, I've been busted a couple of times. A couple of the girls who were at the time back in the ball days, I call them the real ball days. So that was for the balls in Harlem. This is weird because I would sneak up to the balls because I was trying to work as stealth. But, you know, then I had to sneak to go to the ball. It was a weird kind of life, but I loved both of them. I wanted both of them because that's the way I was learning. I was learning from them as well. The glamour of it all came from there. And that some of the old dolls would come pop to Charm and say, "Oh, okay, all right, Miss Caldwell," and I wouldn't know who they were. I didn't remember. I'm not going to remember if you were all in your glam and then show up as he. I just, oh.
I wanted to just know if there was a moment where you sort of broke ties with the ballroom community. If there was a single moment that sort of said, I need to divide these two parts of my life.
Yes, when I got Let My People Come. When I got that play that took me away from New York because I wasn't doing anything. You know, I was doing little stuff and sneaking up to the ballroom scene in Harlem and hanging out with the kids. You know what I mean? But when I left New York to go to Toronto is when my life changed completely. I never lost my connection with it because I took what I learned from the balls to the stage. Do you know what I mean? That energy. That's what I was known for in Canada. And when I came back here for shows, I was known as that. You know, and I got that from the balls. I got the glam and I was always in a gown or a dress in a show. You know, I was the hot girl, the energy. Oh, Lord. You did too much homework, child. This is like therapy. Oh, Lord.
Okay, Sandra. Yes. Now is the part of our show. This is like our rapid fire section. For Ann and I, it is rapid fire. We're going to throw stuff out at you. Please don't feel the pressure to be quick. You can take your time if you need to.
Okay, now it's too late because you put all of that juice in there.
Okay. Peppermint made history as the first trans woman to originate a principal role in a Broadway show. But you made your Broadway debut in Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, in 1990. Mm-hmm. You have a killer singing voice. Look her up on YouTube to our listeners. She has a killer singing voice. What is one role in the American musical theater you'd still like to play?
The one that the pandemic took from me. We were in talks for me to do Chicago. But they said, okay, let's do it this way. You go to Stratford, the Stratford Festival, you do Chicago there, and then we'll come down here. Got to Stratford, got 2 months into rehearsal. They said, time to go. Done. I was going to do Mama Morton. I wanted to do it so bad. I really did. Because it's a star turn. Do you know what I mean? It's a star turn. So I wanted to do it, and I knew I could do that, and I wanted to do it. But I was going to do 9 months in Stratford and come back to New York. So we talked about it while I was in Charm, but they had people booked up to do it for a while.
Once Broadway is back, we got to get the Weislers on the line.
Ooh, child, I said, man, I'll be ready to go when I come from Stratford. I'll be ready to go.
We're going to take you for a drink when that happens, finally. We'll meet you afterwards. We'll take you for a tea or a drink.
Well, that's the one I wanted. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You play Whoopi Goldberg's housekeeper/friend who is more concerned with watching her soaps than cleaning the house in the 2003 TV movie Good Fences. Uh-huh. Your scenes with Whoopi are utterly effortless. Can you describe working with this EGOT winner in 4 words?
Just as easy as you think it was. Just as easy as you think it was. And she comes in, she says, hey, she's Whoopi Goldberg. She says, hey. You know, we rehearse like for a few days. And I guess I bring me in the room when I go in the room. So I don't really, a good director is always going to give you something to work with out of that character. They know they're going to have a good book in their head and their description, but they know what they want. But I don't know, it was easy. It was so comfortable. Because it was her. She doesn't move. I move. I'm like all over the place. But she just sort of eases in.
Okay. As we've been discussing, the ballroom scene is having such a moment right now in pop culture with Pose and the competition show Legendary. So as an alumna of that world, can we expect you to make any appearances in upcoming seasons?
I sure would hope and like so. I would love to. My friend Charlene Woodard, who's in Pose, I've known her for many, 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 many years. She took me to the opening with her because she knew me back in the day.
I love that.
And she took me to the opening, and I sat there, and I was so overwhelmed with knowing that I had lived in that for real, and this was and I auditioned for Pose. I auditioned for it for 2 different characters. One character ended up being a segment of Billy Porter's, which was one of the house mothers, but they combined the house mothers. Adrian, it was Adrian. If you look at Paris is Burning, Adrian, she's a redheaded, and she's putting on her makeup and talking very slowly and deeply about the ballroom scene. And I later heard the scene coming out of Billy Porter's mouth. But I wasn't right for Pose. I wasn't right for it because they were looking for fantastic. Now, I can act, but they wanted the kids now that had the juice. Those girls just got the juice. I'm not the right age. I'm just not the right age. I've been called back for a few things. They said, no, I'll wait because I don't want to do that kind of role. I'm not going to be the sex worker. I'm just not going to do it. Not going to happen. I could be one of the kids' mother. You know what I mean? Here we go with the mom stuff again. But yeah.
They need to just write you a role. They just need to write you a role.
Write her a role.
Come on now. Speak on it. Tell it to the universe.
Okay, Sandra, you played a scene in bed with Lou Gossett Jr. in Love Songs.
Okay.
What Best Supporting Actor Oscar winner would you love to be in bed with in real life? We'll name some for you. Brad Pitt, Alan Arkin, Mahershala Ali, Christopher Plummer, J.K. Simmons, Javier Bardem, Cuba Gooding Jr., Morgan Freeman, Jim Broadbent, Benicio del Toro.
Okay. All right. We can do that. Benicio. Yeah, we can do him. We can do him.
You were waiting for his name to pop up.
Yeah, we could do him. He's thick. He's nice and juicy. He's just he looks dirty. You see that the movie? I can't remember. You might know. He did a movie with Halle Berry where it's about a fire.
Oh, the things we lost in the fire. Things we lost in the fire. Yes.
Yes. Man, I thought he was, even in his junkie moment, I said, look at that.
He is sexy.
Ooh, he's good and dirty.
He's got those like forever dark lines under his eyes. Yes. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could do that.
Okay, Sandra, who behaves worse on set, Canadian child actors or American child actors?
Oh, that's mean. That's mean. That's mean. Don't act the worst. You mean actors act up?
Yes.
Like being spoiled? Okay, but there's two different things. We're talking two different countries here. Do you know what I mean?
It's Americans.
It's for sure Americans.
I'm not.
You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it.
I'm gonna say they're not bad. There's no bad kids. They're no bad children. They're just zesty. They're more zesty down here. They got zest.
Okay, Sandra, you shop in the same corner store as Julia Roberts and Ben is Back. You play Wesley Snipes' neighbor in Murder at 1600 and bitch him out in front of Diane Lane. You mock Stanley Tucci for being a ballroom dancer in Shall We Dance, and you are John Corbett's merch manager in Serendipity, a movie that Damien watched in silence with his parents in 2002 after he came out to them. The question is, which of these superstars had the weirdest or most self-serious acting technique?
Self-serious. You know, some of those films I took because they were going to travel. And if you take a film and you have a small part, but they take you for the 10 days.
Oh, that is such a good tip. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. So a few of the ones you mentioned, like Serendipity and Shall We Dance, like I was booked for 10 days on one and 15 days on the other, but I was 3 days on set. You know what I mean? So it's like, my agent always told me, she was so good. She said, this is how you work it. This is how you keep working. You build your resume up. You make some money. You do projects for 3 reasons. You do them for your heart, you do them for the payday, or you do it because it's going to move your career forward. Those are the only 3 reasons you need to take a project. A strong feeling, strong money, or move you forward.
I love that.
And so I lived by that. So I'll take 3 lines if you're going to fly me someplace for 10 days. Mm-hmm. Put me up in a hotel. What? Pay me per diem? Come on.
But you don't have any good stories about Julia Roberts being very method in that grocery store or anything.
I knew I knew you didn't fuck around. I knew that. I knew you did not fuck around. I knew, it was close quarters in there with her. And you know when you're not to mess around with anybody. You know exactly who you can have more fun with, a little less fun with, and no fun with.
Who can you have no fun with?
No fun with? Oh, girl, no, I can't say that. I can't say that. I don't know if it's just the way they work or the pressure that they're under, because if they're carrying the film, they don't have time to be messing around, Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to say nobody's been mean, because I've never had anybody mean.
All right.
You're trying it. Richard Gere was good.
Oh, okay, good.
Did he look good in person?
Yes, honey.
Okay.
Yes.
We had another guest tell us the same thing, and she had good stories about Richard Gere, so this is our second good story about him. I like this.
He was laid back and serious. Do you know what I mean? There was one actor, I will say this, there was one actor who sat with his back turned to me in between takes. And I was like, oh, okay. we're deep and steep into it.
All right. When we get you a martini after Chicago, you're going to tell us that. Off the record.
I want you to keep that Chicago thing in your mind because
we are going to. You'll be getting emails from us asking. Okay, Sandra. In the TV film While I Was Gone, you worked in a veterinarian hospital with a doctor played by Kirstie Alley. On a scale from 1 to 10, how good of a veterinarian do you think Kirstie Alley was?
I don't. Why are you gonna mess me up? Why are you gonna mess? I just got in good with the community of actors and things, and I'm just finding my way. And
I'm gonna tell you this, Sandra. Me and my mom just watched that TV movie yesterday. We love a good Lifetime type of movie. I'm going to say that I was not buying that Kirstie was a veterinarian, but I liked you. You were great. You were great.
I was in there 2 minutes. What are you going to...
Hey, I believed you. I wasn't believing what she was selling.
But, I got in a lot of trouble from that one because I had to leave the office and get in a car, right, and start the car. Well, I didn't hear they had a mic under the dashboard so I could hear direction. I didn't hear stop. So I took the car and just drove away. I drove around the block. The whole crew is waiting. Said, "Where'd she go?" I got in so much trouble.
My gosh.
Sandra, you have a role in the infamous film On the Line, starring NSYNC members Joey Fatone and Lance Bass, which begs the question, Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
Backstreet Boys. Backstreet Boys.
Same answer for us.
Us too.
Yeah, Backstreet Boys. Yeah. I like my men looking dirty.
We love it. Do you love AJ McLean? We love AJ. He's the one with all the facial hair.
On Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're in the same boat.
Dirty looking.
Yes.
Dirty.
Looks like he was made to sit on your face.
So perspiration.
Oh my goodness. On that note of AJ McLean, Sandra Caldwell, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This has been an absolute delight.
Oh, thank you. This has been fun. Now, this was fun.
And I feel like we're going to get a lot of reactions to you talking about AJ McLean sitting on your face. You're like, he has a face. No, he has a face made for you to sit on. And
I think that's what I meant. Here's the thing. Listening back to the edit, I was like, I think that's what I meant. I think I meant he has a face I should sit on, not he should sit on my face, which I'm not interested in.
I think you said what you said. I think you said you wanted to sit on his face.
No, that's what I meant. I know what I said, which is that he was made to sit on people's faces. Oh, God, I think about him all the time. I love AJ McLean. My friend Sarah Parks sent me the Backstreet Boys Instagram, which is totally pure and really warm spirited. And they're just like sharing all of this old footage of them like dancing to As Long As You Love Me, like from the video sets from like 25 years ago. It's all very charming and sweet. But AJ, I always remembered him as being able to dance. He's not a great dancer.
He's pretty good.
Who is the best Backstreet Boys dancer? Don't even think about it.
Brian.
Yeah, no question.
Who's the worst?
Kevin.
Yeah, Nick is also.
Were you going to say Howie?
I was going to say Nick. I think Nick. No, I think Howie's decent. I think Howie is a serviceable singer and dancer, but nobody cares. Sorry, Howie.
Yeah, Nick got to do the like, am I sexual and everybody, so I always thought he had like the moves, but he really doesn't.
They like played it to make it seem like he was a better dancer than he was.
The point of all of this is that Sandra Caldwell really had nothing good to say about NSYNC after starring in the Joey Fatone Lance Bass movie.
Silence!
She's a Backstreet Boys fan like us. So that was wonderful to reveal. I'm glad we ended on that note.
Okay, so Anne, have you figured out how Sandra Caldwell connects to next week's guest? Do you have an idea? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I am.
No. I haven't, like I said, I haven't Googled it. I'm trying to think through if I can get there. I feel like it's going to be John Corbett. Is it John Corbett?
It might be, but that's not how I got there. He might also.
Tell me.
It's one of your favorites. She's been in the news recently. Josh Gad had to tell her to stop tweeting about Trump.
Kirstie Alley, of course. I actually thought of it earlier this morning, but she didn't want to talk shit about Kirstie Alley. Oh my God, that's true. Our next week's guest starred in a series with one Miss Kirstie Alley, and we're just going to leave it at that. We quizzed her about that person and about that experience, and I'm going to say the results were revealing. I was not prepared for what we received.
Sandra was a real thrill, and this Kirstie Alley tea to come is also very thrilling.
One thing we also wanted to mention is there's actually a documentary about Gloria Allen, the woman that Sandra's character was based on in the off-Broadway show Charm that we talked about at length. It's called Mama Gloria, and the movie just premiered in mid-October, and if you're excited about it, you can track the release at mamagloriafilm.com. Be sure to check it out, because she's actually just sort of a phenomenal woman to know about, generally speaking, even if we won't see the documentary for another couple of months.
Folks, if you like this interview, please make sure you're subscribed to You Might Know Her from wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a written review. Tell us what you think. If you have any constructive criticism, we're open to that. Just shoot us that in a DM or an email, and we will absolutely engage. We want to give a product that you are excited about because we love doing this.
Just wanted to mention that if you have problems with body talk, I'm never going to change who I am. So please don't leave that constructive crit. You Might Know Her From is produced by Ann Rodeman and Damian Bellino. That is us too. Also, make sure you're following all that body talk on Twitter and Instagram at Damian Bellino and at Rodeman on all mediums. For me, that's RODEMANNE.
Special shout out to our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment, Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears. All that editing you hear, babies, is also by the great Daniel Sears.
And an extra special thanks to Gang for all the excellent music that you hear in these episodes. You can find them on iTunes and wherever you listen to music, babies.
Are you mad about the Restless Leg Syndrome?
But I can't stop thinking about it. I'm legitimately going to send you WebMD results later today.
All right.